Hi friends, welcome back to Faith and Arrow Homestead. My name is Jaylee, and today we are propagating raspberry plants. This is the second time that I have done this. These plants right here, there are two. This one over here is a red raspberry plant that was gifted to me from a friend, and then next to it is a golden raspberry that I purchased. These were the very first two raspberry plants that I planted. I actually planted 6 that day, but the other 4 didn't make it. It's been some years now. I don't remember exactly what happened, but anyway, these two have sent off runners over the course of the years, and I can show you what those look like. Let's see. It's so bright out that I can't see my camera, so hopefully you can see it okay. But all of these that are popping up, those are all runners, and that happens through the root system. So down below the surface of the soil, the raspberry plant's roots sort of spread, and then it sends up new plants that come up through the soil. So like for example, this plant here is quite a distance away from the original, and it shot up, and then even this one has put off another one right there. Hopefully you can see that. And so yeah, these plants do that big time. Now this is, like I said, my second time propagating raspberry plants. If we come over here along the fence here, I have raspberry plants going all the way down the fence. All of these raspberry plants came from these two original parent plants. I propagated all of these 4 years ago. My raspberry plants are 4 and 5 years old because these are 5 years old, and these are 4 years old because these are runners that I took from the original plants. Propagated and planted. Now my parents, if you're new here, just purchased a property, a 5-acre property that they are in the process of getting established, and they want raspberry bushes. And I said, don't buy any because I can give you plenty. And we really like the berries. My mom came over last summer and we were just out here feasting on them. The golden ones are my favorite. They're so good, but the red ones are very good as well. So I said, why don't you let me propagate you some plants for free, and you can plant them on your property when they're stable and ready. So I just wanted to make this a video since I'm out here doing it anyway, and figured I'd show you how easy it is to do this. I have a blackberry bush as well, and it has never put off a runner. So I don't know if this is a raspberry thing. I don't know if only certain varieties do it. I don't know those details, but if you are finding that you have raspberry bushes and they're sending up these little shoots all over the place, those can be ripped up, planted into a pot, given a little bit of time, and then planted elsewhere, or sold, given to somebody, etc., etc. So that's what we're going to do today. We have plenty of material because this is the main plant right here, and all of these are runners. And if we come down the line here, look at all of the runners. This is another original plant here, and then there's another original plant right there. Look in between them. Look at how many. Those are all runners, all of them. So we'll be able to pull these up and repot them to give to my parents. Plenty. I will say though, these ones right here I'm going to leave because they're a pretty good distance from the original plants, and I would not mind having more in the middle here, so we're going to leave those. Alright, here I have a bag of topsoil mixed with a bag of composted manure, and I'm just going to do as many of these as I have pots and soil for. So I'm going to start by filling all of these pots up about halfway. Notice that the pots I have are pretty big. You are going to see the root systems that are going to come off of these puppies in a minute. And they are pretty big, and I want to give them as much room as possible to grow and become established because I really want them to succeed.
Notice that I am inserting the shovel on the side of the runner away from the main plant because the root system is going to run from the main plant. So your best bet at pulling out as much of it as possible is digging on the other side of where that root system comes from.
I'm sorry, there's a train, there are dogs barking, my chickens are laying eggs. It's a mess in this neighborhood. I wanted to show you this really quick. I wanted to harvest a more mature cane. So this is a runner that popped up, and I wanted to see if I couldn't transplant this to see if it's successful. But when I pulled it up, I said, what a great example of the way that the root systems work. So here is the root system that I pulled up. And if you notice, it wasn't straight up and down. I didn't pull this out of the depth of the ground. It's very shallow. This is where the plant came up, and here is where the roots come out, and this was along the fence. So, and it kept going too. This is a great example of how these raspberries work. And so along here, it was going to eventually, over the years, send up new runners up through the dirt, so that it can multiply itself. I have a couple of those like 5-gallon like Home Depot, those orange buckets. I'm gonna put this in that and see if I can't get this over to my parents. That'd be really cool, because this is a little bit more well established than the little babies that I dug up. All right, now the last thing there is to do is to just make sure that it is deep enough that the roots are covered in the pot, but not so deep that you're burying the plant. And I just fill these up. Now don't be afraid to bend the roots. So for it to fit in this pot, I'm gonna have to take this and bend it down to go kind of down along the side of the bucket, and it's gonna be just fine with that. It's not gonna cause it any distress or any harm. So depending on the size and the shape of whatever you put them in, you may have to kind of bend the roots to fit down in there, and that's fine. Okay, I have 6, 7 if you include this guy that I need to find a bucket for. And I was just counting, when I did this 4 years ago, I have 7 that I successfully propagated. And if I remember correctly, I think I did 10, and 3 of them either didn't make it or were pitiful enough that I didn't bother planting them. So it may be that not all of these make it. I've got some soil left, so I am gonna walk around and see. I'm gonna go through my shed and see if I can't find a few more buckets. But even if 4 of these are able to be transplanted on my parents' property, when we went to our local nursery recently we purchased some fruit trees, which I'll talk about in a separate video. We looked at the bushes, they were $30, and they were about this size. This one right here, this is a pretty good example of what size they were. They were not super well established. $30 for one. And to give you a comparison, the trees that we purchased were $70. Like, come on. So even if I only get 4 of these, if we can get those over to my parents' property, that saves us over $100. So if you are able to do this, if you've got raspberries and you can propagate the runners, not only could you bless friends and family, you could potentially sell them on Facebook Marketplace or at a market or something like that. This is, I think, very profitable, and it shares the gift of fruit, which is very expensive at the grocery store. It's my favorite thing that I grow on my little 1/4-acre property are my raspberries. I love them. A couple of things I want to touch on. I have never tried taking the runners that I've dug up and planting them directly in the ground somewhere else. Could I take these cuttings straight from the ground, drive them over to my parents' property, and plant them successfully? Maybe. Me putting them in the pots, is that necessary? I don't know. I've never tried it any other way. I like the idea of putting them in the pot because I think it gives it the opportunity to calm down and not be so stressed and shocked, to establish the roots that it still has a bit more before going to its new home. So when I did this 4 years ago, I kept them in their pots for about a month. And the reason I knew they were successful was because they were growing, and they were growing up, and they were putting on new growth. So there were new leaves coming up. And that's how I knew, okay, you survived, you're happy, you're successful, let's go ahead and put you in your final place. And so that's what we're doing here. But I really just wanted to make this video so that you knew that this was an option, because those runners can be so pesky, and if you're constantly having to pull them out to keep them from spreading, I'm always having to go into my neighbor's yard because they go under the fence and spread into their yard. So like 3 times a summer, I go over there with gloves and just pull all the runners out of their yard, and I just toss those. But they're a great money-making opportunity, and they're a great way to bless friends and family members who might like their own raspberry bushes, or if you'd like more somewhere else in the property. I just wanted to mention, hey, you can propagate the runners and turn them into their own plants. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I can't wait to see you in my next video. Have faith and keep moving forward. Bye.